Well, this is Guns, Knives, and Watches. And some people might ask why I re-uploaded a couple videos about 16-inch 308s. Well, I did it just simply so that I could upload this video. Now, a 16-inch 308 battle rifle, unfortunately, is my most hated setup. Why? Because in a 308 battle rifle, there are two ways in which it can actually be used. One, in a CQB type setup, going from position to position, or for dealing with hard objects that an AR-15 will not deal with. Now, it's really popular right now to take AR-10s and outfit them out, this, that, or the other, and people will make these 16-inch guns, But the most usable ones are normally either an SBR type rifle, where you can put a suppressor on it, and it's not quite as obnoxious, or a longer barreled variant, where you get more accuracy and quite a bit better precision due to the fact the flight time is reduced. The 308 rifle, of course, really doesn't have accuracy issues when you shorten the barrel, but it does change the flight time, which it isn't going to really change the accuracy as much as it is the precision. Because the longer your flight time, the more time wind has the ability to affect your round as you're sending it down range. Also, flight time, depending on the amount of distance you're actually shooting, can make quite a bit of a difference based on objects moving, this, that, or the other, doing lead outs. Your lead outs change. Everything changes. Now, this weapon you see before you right now, of course, is an H&K made in West Germany. I've had this weapon since its inception. I have, of course, redone the finishes on it, this, that, or the other, and put a new wood grip on it. But if anybody remembers from my old channel, the most fun I would ever have is I have two of these lowers. One of them with the original trigger group and one with this more precision trigger group. And I would shoot it with this and no one would ever see me switch it out because I'd be cleaning their weapon or something, this, that, or the other. And then I'd put the other lower on it and let somebody shoot it. And then just razz them about, Now, of course, right now I've just got a crappy scope on it. It's a Super Sniper scope with Burris Extreme Tactical rings. I wouldn't recommend it, but for this setup, it just works. Is it be something I would carry out? No, but right now this is just being a workhorse because I know how this rifle shoots, so I can put a scope on it, test that scope out, and then rotate that scope onto another setup. And of course, yes, I have the ubiquitous, most hated bubble level on it because I have allergy issues, and people that have allergy issues have problems with understanding exactly where level is. You've put me out in the desert, this, that, or the other, but here in that their Kentucky type situation, unfortunately, my allergies here are worse than they are in Florida, and so I need that because there are times of the year in which you actually need stuff like that. But to people living, in Texas, and people living in situations where they don't have any type of pollen or this, that, or the other in a real way, or out in, Utah or Colorado, or, any of those places where they don't have humidity and don't have that type of shit, bubble levels may seem, irrelevant. But anyway, this weapon system has, of course, an 18-inch barrel, no muzzle brake, this, that, or the other, okay? And of course, made in West Germany. This is before the unification of Germany. And of course, it has an adjustable stock on it, and then the has that there really high, really high scope on it, which means everybody that bitches with getting your scope real low on it, a sniper's been using these things for a while, boys, and dealing with it. Oh Lord, that thing's, of course, very heavy. Now, let's go on to the short barrel version, because I still have this rifle. This is the PTR, which is made in the United States, with some German parts, this, that, or the other. It's fully compliant, of course, has a Navy lower on it, which is a totally different deal. And what I was speaking about in that, I think the second video, I was talking about the chamber and the flutes. And of course, this is a roller locking design, and I'll show you the rollers that actually lock it. They're right there. And then simply your recoil spring is on your stock, this, that, or the other. You can have a lot of different buffers. I always change mine out to a 2-stage, just because I like it better that way. It changes the impulse energy that comes through it. But that's one of my things. PTRs, I do not believe, come with those. They come with the fully automatic variant or whatever. It comes with a single stage, and I don't really know or care. But let me see if I can get this on camera for you fine people. I guess to do that, I would have to have my flash 'em, light 'em, and then orient this in such a way as where you can see down there. And let me try and get this going for you right here. Okay, right there is the chamber, and hopefully you can see those flutes in there. Probably can't, but in that chamber area there are flutes, and there are a few of them, and how deep those are cut into actually the chamber makes this weapon system, this old G3 type system or roller lock design, more reliable or less reliable, and more accurate and less accurate, and it limits the amount of the types of ammo you can run through it. Like, let's say a more tar sealed, that there asphalt sealed round, man. If you have really tight chamber and your flutes are not deep enough, you will have a problem with shooting tar sealed ammo, because it will gum up the flutes that are there, and then your gun will not function properly. Now, the reason I don't like the 16-inch system is just simply because it's obnoxious. Of course, this is, if I was going to get one, this would probably be the one of choice. And I wouldn't throw any sights on it or do any of that type crap. And this is one of the older ones that has the Wilson barrel on it. But that's just that's a pretty good variation of a 16-inch that I like. I'll show you another 16-inch that I like. This is an Armalite 16-inch system. Now, you sit there and go, what's the difference between the Armalite setup and the PTR setup? Well, you can buy Armalites now that will take the PMAG, number one. And number two, the difference is all right here in this measurement. This, as you can see, is not a carbine length gas system, which means you have less of a problem with overpressuring, and it's a much different feel behind the rifle when you're driving it. I know 308s don't kick that much, don't do this, that, or the other. But as far as just wear and tear on the system and this, that, or the other, on this type of platform, the longer length gas system is just a much preferred option. Now, I've got a battle compensator on this one. It works very well, and I know I could lighten this system up by not having Badger rings on it and taking this 6-power Super Sniper off of it and putting something that's lighter. But it's 6-power. It has a reticle in it which I can range with and do different types of work, do lead outs, this, there, or the other, and it has a pretty easily to adjust knob system. But with this type setup, you really wouldn't do much knob turning. It's mainly for, this is my best go-to scope. Of course, I would get the mill reticle, mill turrets in the 6-power. If you have our unlimited budget, $300 for a really good durable scope, and you want to beat the hell out of it, this would probably be my way to go. Of course, it has a 30 millimeter tube, and which means it gives it a lot of adjustment. Because what's the size of the tube matter? Well, it's the strength of the scope, one, but more importantly, in a real world environment, when you're not in a military type environment, what it gives you is more volume in here, which gives you more ability to adjust and to work it. But anyway, trying to figure out what that noise is. Anyway, this is the 16-inch with the whatever length gas system that is. I would say it's a mid-length gas system, 308 battle rifle, and that would probably be my my one variant that I would really like. Don't like the carbine length gas system in that type of setup. Another one that a lot of people have gone to, even though it's a little overpriced, is the Scar Heavy. Now the Scar Heavy, even though this one's a little beat up, even though I try to keep all of these weapons in as nice of a thing as possible, because these are not used all the time. In fact, they're pretty much just backup weapons. The problem I have with it is I'm not that accurate with it. I don't get the same accuracy out of it that I can get out of other platforms, and I don't exactly know why. I do like the fact that you can convert the charging handle over to the other side. I like that it's compact. It has a folding stock on it. I like, of course, the sights on the thing that come, stock. With the Magpul angled foregrip moved out a little bit, it gives me more real estate, which is probably the most economical way of getting more real estate on this weapons system. It only gives you a little bit more, but a little bit more in this type of platform is very adequate depending on your arm length. Of course, I added also a Magpul sling attachment here. And of course, as I've gone through it, I use different types of attachments back here. Mainly by different types of attachments, split rings, key rings, are mainly what I use back here. My problem with the platform is, parts, ability to work on it, accuracy, a few other things. And I have the same problem with it that everyone else has with it. I mean, it's just the way it is. But my major carrying it in the field problem with this Heavy is just the fact that it's not as accurate as I would like it to be. I can get better accuracy out of other types of setups. But it's a very good weapon, of course, designed by FN, and they have try to do as good a job as possible. Of course, a polymer lower, aluminum upper, and polymer stock on it. But you can change the barrels, relatively easily, and and this, there, the other, and all that other type of crap. But here we go. One system that we always come back to, just for nostalgia's sake, and you would think that this is the same one that was in the video, but it is not, is that there M1A, man. Anyway, based off of the M1 Garand type of setup, and of course mine has a rail on it, and this is from Global Defense Initiatives, as they do a lot of my actual attachment points for various and sundry sighting options. When I have to have one that just works and will take a hell of a beating, this is of course the Gen 3 scope mount, and what that allows me to do is it allows me to have both iron sights and also going to a scope type setup, and not use the Scout type setup. Because whenever I use the Scout type setup, I not only, number one, lose the close range of the sighting system, but I also, there's a few other things that I don't really like. I have very specific scope requirements, and this type of arrangement works for me. Just be careful to follow the instructions and torque things correctly and Loctite everything, because it is not the easiest thing to install if you don't know what the hell you're doing. Now, this is not a 16-inch barreled rifle. This is an 18-inch barreled rifle. I believe they call it the Scout. I have no earthly idea, because I've shot so many different types of weapons systems for so damn long. And, you know, you can call it Bob, George, or Fred, or Ted. It doesn't make any difference to me. The specifications, the numbers are the only thing that I care about. The one thing I like about this one is, number one, it has the 18-inch barrel length, which is good, because that gives me that, you know, that time of flight thing. The difference between a 16 and an 18 isn't that much, but there is a difference. And when you reach out there, that makes a difference. The 18-inch Scout type setup is very easy to move around, this, that, or the other. Now, if you want to go with a shorter type setup, that's fine, but it works best when you have a suppressor on it. Now, without a suppressor, this 18-inch barrel, basically similar to the H&K, is my setup. It also has a standard type flash suppressor and muzzle brake on it that they've used on this weapon system for a long time, and the sighting system is detailed enough where on this weapon system you have a sharp blade there, which you can get a very good sight picture on with your aperture rear sight, that I can't get on that SOCOM 16, because it has that very fat front blade, and it has that tritium insert. And if you haven't shot that weapon at night, my recommendation to you is to do that. Now, I've got to actually put a scope on this weapon and actually go out and zero it and break it in. Haven't had the time to do that just because of job and life requirements. But instead of that SOCOM type rifle, this would be the one I would go for, because it is the most usable. 18-inch 308s are very, very, very usable setups. If you want to go less than that, go with something that would you could just suppress and make it to where it's not quite as obnoxious. I'm not only talking about you, I'm talking about your team, I'm talking about everyone around you. This is not you going out, I'm Grizzly Adams in the woods by myself. No, this is working in a stack. This is working in a battlefield environment. This is working in all of those type things. I know you will never probably have the opportunity to do that, but in the real world of those type of environments, these things matter. This is Guns, Knives, and Watches, and this is just my thoughts on a 308 system, and 308 systems that actually work, and some that work, but they work in very limited environments and in very limited situations. And they throw fireballs out of them the size of a damn VW Bug, and they go, "Shoot me first!" Anyway, this is Guns, Knives, and Watches, and I'm I'm going to get back at it. Have a good one.